Welcome back to the castle, everybody. This is Nightsaber Z42, and this is part 11 of 8 Petals Argent. Previously, Monterey and Latchboy battle clockwork automatons and explore the remains of the Temple of Gond. Monterey feels quite proud of himself as he solves the temple's puzzles. They eventually find the ledger that the agent was looking for and activate the Argent portal, where a crab-like automaton rushes out. Upon inspecting it, small spider-like creatures begin to come out of it, taking notice of Monterey. And these little spider-like creatures are clockwork swarms. There's 4 of them. They are medium swarms of tiny constructs, and so battle is beginning here. The swarms approach and attack their assigned targets single-mindedly, but will use the disengage action when it would avoid opportunity attacks. When combat begins, only the wreck of the burrowing machine, the 2 portal frames, and the center pillar are present with you and your sidekick, who is Latchboy. They are potential targets in this fight, but they do not roll initiative or act. Each has its own AC and hit points. So let's go ahead and roll for initiative here. We will do Monterey first, followed by Latchboy, followed by the clockwork swarms. And we'll do all 4 of them as one group, which could potentially be dangerous, but oh well. So Monterey's initiative is a 3. That is not good. That's a natural 1. I don't think there's really any way we can go before anybody, unless everybody else rolls a natural 1, except for Latchboy. Latchboy has got a fairly high dexterity score, so we will go ahead and roll him with +3 for his dex. Rolled an 8, and the clockwork swarms have a +1 to dex, and they rolled a 7. So initiative order will go as follows: Latchboy, followed by the swarms, followed by Monterey. I don't think there's really anything that Latchboy is going to do, because really nothing is happening. So the way that this combat works, these swarms are each going to come out on a different initiative. And so since this is round 1 on Latchboy's turn, nothing has really happened yet, so they really can't do anything here, which is rather unfortunate. So Latchboy will actually postpone his turn until something does happen. He's going to basically ready an action to attack whatever's going on, because he doesn't know what this is. He doesn't know if there's anything coming out or if this thing is alive, so he's gonna start preparing for the worst, which means it is the clockwork's turn. So on its initiative, the first clockwork swarm exits the burrowing machine, moves to the northern portal frame, and begins attacking it. And since Monterey and Latchboy are surrounding it, I think the clockwork swarm would use disengage. So the swarms approach and attack their assigned target single-mindedly, but will use the disengage action when it would void opportunity attack. So it would definitely use the disengage action for its first turn just to move up to the portal. Yeah, the northern portal frame. And so the portal frames and the central pillar, they each have the AC and their own hit points. So I think the objective for this one, I believe that our objective here is simply just to defend the pillars and the frames. The burrowing machine, the thing that is spewing clockworks, also has AC and hit points, but we're not going to do anything with that just quite yet. So the swarms, or the first swarm, is actually going to go up to the frame. It won't be able to attack because it used the disengage action. So that would actually just be it. Oh, these attacks, the razor saws, they actually do maximum damage to inanimate objects, like the portal frames or the central pillar in this room. So we need to deal with that, like, right away. And speaking of which, Monterey is going to rage, and he is actually going to do something about this. He will go up to the... Yeah, he will actually go up to the swarm, and he is actually going to attack. So this should actually use up our last bit of rage for the day. And with his great axe, he is going to go ahead and swipe at the swarm. All right, lucky for him, he managed to hit with a 12, which is their actual... Oh no, wait, sorry. He rolled a 13, which is above by 1. So okay, so what I'm trying to say is they have a 12 AC, he rolled a 13. That's a weird way of doing that. And he actually rolled... Ooh, max damage. Well, sort of max damage. A 16, which means he would have done 8 damage because these things have damage resistance. So that would actually destroy this clockwork swarm, thankfully. And now it's back to the top of the round. So Latchboy, upon seeing these little clockwork spiders exit out of this giant machine, he's actually gonna start to poke at it with the adamantine dagger, by the way. And so Latchboy has a +5 to hit, which that still just gets me. That's like super awesome. And he rolled a 13, which is actually not enough to hit the burrowing machine. It has an AC of 14. Actually, hold on. If I remember correctly, there's something about the adamantine dagger. Okay, so the adamantine dagger basically crits every time it hits an object, but it is a critical hit. So unfortunately that doesn't really do anything for now because Latchboy missed, which means it is the burrowing machine's turn. So round 2, on its initiative, the second clockwork swarm exits the burrowing machine and tries to attack the PC or the sidekick, whoever is closer. In any round that it cannot find a target, it attacks the portal frame or the central pillar, whichever is closest. So that's unfortunate. It is going to attack Latchboy with a +3 to hit. Hopefully it will miss. It rolled a 20, non-natural. That's unfortunate, and it is going to do 1d6 +1 damage. And that is 2. Wow. It rolled in at 1 for damage, and it gets a +1. So Latchboy has received 2 damage, bringing him down to 9 points. Uh-oh. We're gonna want to protect this guy. So Monterey is going to see Latchboy get attacked, and he is going to rush to his aid. He is going to do another great axe attack with 20. Unfortunately, this time around is 7 damage, which brings it down to 3. And so this clockwork swarm has 4 points left. Oh, we're not in a good spot right now. All right, it's Latchboy's turn. He is going to try to fend off the swarm that's attacking him. And he's going to actually miss an 11. Actually, hold on. Since Monterey is kind of near him, he will actually get advantage on that. So my 11 is now turned into a 14. So that does hit. The dagger does 1d4 +3. It's actually critted, so that would be 7 points of damage, which should be enough to take this thing down. Now it is the burrow's turn. So round 3 on its initiative, the clockwork swarm exits the burrowing machine, moves to the central pillar and begins attacking it. And so this little thing would have to use the disengage action to avoid getting hit from opportunity attacks. And so that is actually what it will do. The Monterey will chase it, of course, and he will basically use his great axe to try to destroy it. 13 does hit for 9 points of damage, which gets reduced to 4, leaving this swarm with 3 hit points left. The turn will go up to Latchboy. Latchboy will continue to try to dismantle the burrow. Unfortunately, he does not get advantage, and a 9 is going to miss. Wow, this large construct just does not want to get hit, so that's unfortunate. All right, on its initiative for the 4th round, the 4th Clockwork Swarm exits the burrowing machine, moves to the eastern portal frame, and begins to attack it. Unfortunately, it will use the disengage action to get around, and it will just crawl right on up to the portal frame. So that would bring it down to Monterey, who is going to attack with his great axe. Succeed with a 22 to hit. Another 9 slashing damage will bring that one down to 0. And he is actually going to move on over to the eastern frame. Yeah, he should be able to do that, yes. So Latchboy, in the meantime, is going to go over to the other swarm, the last swarm, because this burrowing machine seems to be done with. It seems to only have 4 of these swarms, and it's kind of like dead, I guess. So he's actually going to go over to this last swarm and try to attack it. An 11 is not going to make it, but he is next to Monterey, and a 13 will hit. So for max damage, yeah, that first hit is actually enough to kill it anyway. So luckily we managed to succeed in this endeavor without anything actually really taking a hit. That was an interesting fight for sure. In the aftermath of combat, the room smells of rust and burnt metal. Tendrils of smoke rise from the wreckage of the crab-like construct, whose spindle has finally stopped spinning. The only sound is the patter of pebbles that still rain intermittently from the ceiling. You have defeated the swarm of spider-like automatons, leaving its members crushed, mangled, and scattered across the floor. You carefully collect a handful of the tiny machines, as well as one rusty, mossy gear that fell out of the larger automaton when it arrived through the portal. You also take the iron pedal that unlocked the portal, lest anyone else use this dangerous device in your absence. Seeing no cause for delay, you and your companion head toward the stairs that lead up from the basement. You find the embassy still abandoned, as you expected. You unlock one of the side doors and slip out onto the embassy grounds where Rufio and the other gang members are waiting, alongside your short friend, Too Small. Reunited at last, your friends hug one another and cheer your success. The mood is one of high spirits when you finally leave the embassy grounds. You cross the street with your friends, and you all pile into the gang's wagon. Too Small takes the reins and directs Thuds toward Sea Lion Street, near the pier where the Seeker ship is waiting. Despite her age, Thuds has no trouble pulling the wagon with you and your friends in it. Her high step echoes over the cobblestones as you leave the castle ward. Although the patrol of the city guards eyes your group as you pass, you manage to remain above suspicion, and no one tries to stop you on the way. Too Small turns the wagon onto Lockpurse Lane, moving west between the castle ward and the docks ward. The familiar roads bring back memories of the years you spent here in your youth. You allow yourself a moment of happy nostalgia, rolling along under the warm Marpanoth sun. You eventually turn onto Sail Street before arriving at your destination, the pier across from Sea Lion Street. Although you have plenty of time remaining, you are hugely relieved to see the Homeward still at anchor. You approach some of the ship's crew who are loading supplies at the pier, and they agree to ferry 2 of your group out to the ship. You and Rufio climb into the boat. It takes only a few minutes of rowing before the crew has you alongside the homeward. You climb onto the deck, and this mid-sized sailing ship. A dozen people bearing the badge of the Red Shields greet you. They escort you to a large cabin at the back of the ship where the Seeker's agent waits behind a low table. You sit across from the agent in a manner reminiscent of your last meeting. He smiles, removing his familiar wand and pointing with it at the tabletop. You place the items you brought back for the Seekers on the table. In addition to the components from the automatons you encounter, you must deliver the following items: the Deep Winter Seal, Heavy Ledger, Iron Petal, Invention Journal, and the Star Metal Dagger. So that's unfortunate that we lose that super powerful item. The Seeker's agent inspects the items, particularly the ledger, large cog, and one of the tiny spidery automatons you collected, then takes them from the room. When he returns, a guard accompanies him, carrying a small familiar chest. Still tired from your ordeal beneath the embassy, you ask Rufio to handle the payment. He inspects the coins in the small chest, and you see him doing some calculations in his head. Rufio's smile tells you all you need to know. The two of you are getting up from the table to leave when a cloaked figure walks into the room, his hood pulled up and his face wrapped in cloth. You've never seen a more blatant display of someone trying to hide his appearance. The man speaks quietly to the Seeker's agent before leaving the room, never bothering to look in your direction. We do not understand Chondathan, which is a language, and we certainly don't have a passive perception score of 14 or more, so we don't overhear the words. The Seeker's agent accompanies you back to the upper deck. As you climb down to the launch, you find that the agent is still accompanying you, the crew lowering his luggage into the boat behind you. I've been instructed to remain in Waterdeep, the agent explains. I am to continue the bounties, and to offer some to you exclusively. When you reach the pier, the Seeker's agent adds, the next bounty will be ready in a 10-day or 2. Expect a messenger when it's ready for you. Rufio nods his agreement, giving the agent the gang's address above the bakery off Slipstone Street. You are about to head for the wagon when the agent stops you. Surprisingly, he offers his hand to shake. Call me Harold, he says. I think we should know each other if we're to work together again. You clasp hands with the mysterious half-elf, uncertain what this new familiarity portends for the future. Then you follow Rufio to the wagon. Epilogue. Back and home again. Slipstone Street is quiet when you return. People are going about their business in the early evening as though the world hasn't changed. For you, it has, quite dramatically. In the span of 2 days, you've walked dangerous paths where few have tread in a century or more, doing so in 2 different parts of the largest, busiest city on the Sword Coast. You've finally proven yourself an able adventurer. The irony is not lost on you, that you had to come home to find that which you left home in search of. Your friends park the wagon and lock the axle, then return Thud to her stall in the Gentle Rest stable. After, the group assembles in the planning room to talk about the last 2 days' adventure. Pockets is excited by your return and runs circles around the group, eventually resorting to a plaintive howl when your friends are too tired to give her the attention she wants. As the evening goes on, Too Small tells the rest of the gang about her time in captivity and listens intently when they describe the events that occurred in her absence. While they talk, Rufio goes over to the kitchenette to cook a celebratory meal, flat cakes made with a pinch from his secret stash of cinnamon. You decide to join Rufio, thinking this might be the right time to discuss the future. As Rufio lights the wood in the cook stove, he fills you in on the finances. With these harbor moons, we've got the money to pay our debt for the last diamond we bought, with enough left over to pay some past rents. We're still behind, and we've got some interest outstanding, but we're not getting evicted anytime soon. You decide this would be a good moment to separate the treasure you recovered in the embassy basement, handing over the half of it owed for your friend's assistance. Rufio is pleased by the addition. This will help too, he says. I'll get too small to do a final accounting of our financial standing and have it ready at the next family meeting. Here, Rufio turns to a topic that's of greater concern to you. Well, Ravello thinks he's got the best of us. He won't give us any trouble. But when the Crimson Peritons realize the secret agent is still in town, that's going to change. They'll know the scavenger hunts are back on and they'll want in on the action. Rufio pauses. No, he corrects himself. They're going to want all the action. To better manage the Seeker's bounties and to keep our little gang safe, I've decided we all need to start training like you did, as adventurers. I've got some training partners in mind, but I know I speak for the rest of the group when I say we'd be happy if you stay and help us. Your old room is still available, and we really need to help. While you think about the offer, Pocket sniffs at your knee, then lies down at your feet, curling herself around your ankles. You think about your time away from Waterdeep. Pursuing your dream of adventuring wasn't exciting or lucrative, and you have few good stories to tell. In that light, the answer seems obvious. You tell Rufio that you'll stay. A cheer explodes from the nearby table. You turn to see that your friends, no longer in conversation between themselves, were all listening to hear your response to the offer. Their joy at having you back again, for longer than a short visit, makes you wonder why you ever left Waterdeep behind. Friends really should stick together. In the days following your adventure, you spend time teaching your friends the ins and outs of adventuring, practicing and training with them. This helps you absorb and reflect upon what you've learned, internalizing the lessons of your 2 days of adventuring. So solitaires use standardized leveling. Completing future 4-chapter books will likewise result in a level gain until you are 5th level, after which each level gain requires you to complete 8 chapters, which is 2 adventures. So because we have completed the 4 chapters of 8 Petals Argent, we're now level 2! Yeah, baby! Monterey is actually gonna be, I don't know yet. So the Seeker's next bounty is over a 10-day away, leaving you with plenty of time to pursue your own interests. So we can choose what we actually want to do. We have a total of 12 downtime days, and if we continue to do this in the next adventure, then we will go ahead and reflect back on what it is that we do. But some of the things that we can actually accomplish are things like crafting. We can gain some renown. We can help Ace, it says. We can help Belle, help Latchboy, help No Nap, help Rufio, help Too Small. Just for some renown with the Slipstone gang, basically. We can meet Habrad and Glutch, the 2 gnomes that we met earlier in the adventure. We can recuperate. We can report to the guild, report to the watch. We can do some research and anything else that we can think of. So, knowing that we have further adventures ahead, you take the opportunity to update your equipment and sell any unwanted treasure you've acquired. We can now buy and sell items. Armor, weapons, and adventuring gear sell for half the listed value. Coins, gems, and objects of art fetch their full listed values, which I've already written down in my inventory. And we can also change the coins to whatever denominations we desire. We previously had the option of taking anything from the Lantanese embassy so we can split, but I'm pretty sure we didn't really take anything. Aside from the key, the pristine hat, the firearm schematic, which would go to one of our sidekicks, and the spell scroll of Hold Person, so nothing that we would actually sell. So anything that isn't magical, we could actually sell for and split it with the gang. So speaking of the gang finances, while awaiting the Seeker's bounty, the gang helps you clean the storage boxes from your old room and decorate it to be a comfortable place to stay. Meager food is also available on the gang's budget, but everywhere you look, you see ways the gang cuts corners on food and other expenses. The Slipstone Gang's headquarters gives you a poor lifestyle at no cost to you. You can enjoy a better lifestyle in your downtime activities provided, or if you pay the difference between a poor lifestyle and the one that you want. If you have debts to gang members, from our event codes, and you cannot pay them at this point. You must ask their forgiveness. Your friends will let your debts go, but they may be less likely to lend you money in the future. And I don't believe we asked for any money. I don't think we borrowed any money. You realize that you've borne most of the danger involved with recovering the secret prizes. You repeatedly put your health on the line to help your friends, but that's what friends do, right? So if we have any disease, you can cure it through the recuperation downtime activity or through your own spells or class features if you have any of that. Alternatively, you can pay 40 gold pieces to the Zorstar Temple to have all diseases removed at once. So we never really got any diseases, so that's good. We never killed a watch member, so we didn't get that one. And so basically what we can do is just sell everything that we have in our inventory that we don't want and start keeping a total track of how much gold. I know that the Slipstone gang would probably need that money, some of that money, but that is neither here nor there because our adventure is complete. The book 2 is entitled Fight for the Dawn Saber. That sounds actually pretty interesting. But again, I do not quite know if I am going to continue with the series or what it is I'm going to do. Now, as a quick mini review, because time is kind of getting on, this was actually really interesting for me. I've never played a solitaire game, at least nothing like this. So it was definitely a little bit of a learning curve, especially when you come down from like group play. There's a lot more that you as the player are tasked with keeping track of. And in the earlier stages, like the first few episodes, especially when we got down into the tomb, I was being an idiot, and it took me a while to get into a rhythm, a groove basically. But when I actually started keeping track of some things in my journal on Roll20, things went by a lot smoother. And of course, there's also some different gadgets in the Adobe PDF reader that I have that I made use of. So like crossing off all the options that I've already been through and doing stuff, that really did help out. So if you're new to stuff like this, I would say really think of how to keep track of things, whether it's with a journal and you're writing stuff down. I tried a couple different things and they seem to work well. So with the adventure itself, there were some things that I really liked and some things that I didn't quite understand. I thought the deep catacombs chapter, I thought that was really interesting. And the only reason why I have some negative like connotations towards that was because I was being an idiot. Other than that, it was basically like an old school dungeon delve. Like if you've ever played Eye of the Beholder, it's kind of like what it seemed to be like, and I was really appreciative of that. And there's also a lot of different options like exploring. There's a lot of, I would say, time wasters. And I know that puts it in a really negative light, but that's the point. You are trying to get through that entire catacombs, find your objective, and get out within the time frame. And having those time wasters really do kind of, it helps set the mood, I guess. So like Monterey was going in through the deep catacombs, and at first he was actually exploring everything. He was looting everything and searching everything, and that wasted time. And that's just kind of the thing that he would do as an adventurer, because he would have thought that, going into a dungeon, your objective is to loot each and everything. And that's the way that I played him. Or at least that's the way that I'm saying that I played him. But then as time went on and I realized that we were getting down into the minutes of the adventure, or that section of the adventure, I would have had him realize that, okay, we need to really start picking what we're looking for. We can't just loot everything, because if you spend 10 minutes looting everything, you're going to run out of time. It's going to be dawn, and then you're going to have to deal with the watch and things like that. And so I really do like that there are those little distractions. There we go. Distractions along the way for players to kind of, find themselves getting distracted with. It's just a really interesting thing to have in a dungeon dive. And I really like that there was that time limit because let's be honest, if that time limit wasn't there, we'd probably still be looting that entire catacombs. The Day of Wonders, I thought that was a nice little twist. And then when we got to the Argent Gate, I thought that was probably the weirdest section of the entire adventure because you have a short little dungeon dive and there were traps in there, and I really did like that there were obvious traps and that there was a set way to do things, but I felt like that specific section, like if we're talking about like game development, right, like a video game development, it would seem like that one wasn't as fleshed out as much. Like that one was rushed, like on a time crunch. It seemed really short, and what we got out of it just didn't compare to what we got in the deep catacombs, and that's okay. I mean, it definitely wasn't as supposed to be as long as the deep catacombs chapter. It wasn't supposed to be as much things to find as in the deep catacombs, a lot of distractions and stuff like that. But the thing that I don't really understand was the time limit, because we had a time limit of what, like 5 boxes, and I only ever filled out 2, and we weren't supposed to fill out any boxes until they told us to, and I didn't see any options or any indication to fill any of those boxes. So maybe we could have wasted all 5 hours like going back and forth between the 2 options at the beginning of the chapter. Like, I don't know. But I found it kind of weird that we weren't asked to keep time in that section, unless I skipped over it. That is entirely possible because I tend to skip a lot of things. But other than that, I think this was a fairly solid adventure, and I'm actually kind of sort of excited to play the next chapter, if on my own, because that would be something that I would see myself doing instead of recording it like this. But it was also a really new experience for me as well, like doing these heavily edited videos, because let's be honest, these are very heavily edited, and I would deem it as more of a podcast style. And so this was kind of something new for me as well. And so just learning how to really edit audio and, add in music and stuff like that. And if I was to continue on to do this with the second book, I would even up that even more, because I've got a sort of system as to like how I do these videos, and I would like to add sound effects and do a little bit more role playing, even though the role playing in this is really light. It's limited down to options, but I would still like to add that stuff in with Monterey's voice and everything, like I did at the beginning of this series. But that's about enough for now. So feel free to leave a comment down below, give this video a huge thumbs up to support this series, and subscribe if you would like to see more. And I will see you guys in the next video.